That is a wrap on Ohio State's non-conference schedule. But before we can get into Big Ten play and the Buckeyes play at Michigan State on Saturday night, it is time for a Boren Blitz on the Podcast Daily, and it is time to look back on Ohio State beating Marshall 49-14 Saturday in a steamy Horseshoe. Zach, Buckeyes are 3-0. I feel like this is one of those weird shows where we can dwell on some of the things that can get improved, and there are some in all three areas of the game. Or we could just praise the offense endlessly because it is scary what it is becoming.
First off, I am so excited to get in Big Ten play. Like, it could not get here soon enough. I think that was maybe the longest first 4 weeks of college football season we've had at Ohio State in a long time, just because of the matchups and the bye week. But to your point, yes, there is so much that we can discuss from this past weekend's game. And you can talk about the positives. You can talk about definitely some glaring negatives on Saturday. First off, the offense, man. I have never seen a performance like that where we've talked about all year how explosive this team can be. And you saw that on Saturday. 3 touchdowns over 50 yards, 4 over 40. Don't know if that's ever been done. But then you can also go to the defense side of the ball where there was a lot to be desired in that performance. And I would point the finger starting at that front four in the defensive line who against a Marshall offense, especially offensive line that's not very good, there are some questions on like, where were they? Have they even showed up for the Marshall game yet?
Yeah, it was strange. And I don't want to be overly critical of just one performance, and Ohio State still won this game comfortably. But a lot of what we do is project forward. And was I undervaluing how important Tyleik Williams was to this team? Maybe, but I guess I thought that the next wave would be more impactful. Hero Kanu, Caden McDonald, guys that I think have a lot of potential. They didn't really, I don't know, flash the way that I thought they might have at defensive tackle. And even the veteran ends that was not the greatest performance of JT Tuimoloau's career. And I think Jack Sawyer played okay. Caden Curry was making some plays in the second quarter before that unfortunate ejection. But I think overall, that wasn't what we had seen or maybe expected from Ohio State's defensive line. And if that's just because Tyleik Williams is there, well, eventually you're going to have him back, and that'll be positive. But they've made this point all year that even in the offseason, there needs to be more depth. It's a long year. There's going to be 16 games. Injuries do occur. You're going to have to deal with those. And if that's the kind of drop-off that happens at defensive tackle without Tyleik Williams, that could very well be a problem against the better teams on the schedule here.
This is where I disagree with you slightly. I think we have to make a massive talking point about the D-line's performance. I know Tyleik Williams wasn't in. I know we can say, hey, listen, it was Marshall, noon game. It is what it is. But at the same time, this was a defensive line that's coming off a bye. This is a defensive line that's supposed to be much deeper than it was in the past. The talk has been this defensive line's deeper than last year's defensive line. Yes, you don't have Tyleik Williams, who will probably be a top 2-round draft pick. But at the same time, you have guys, it's not like you're rolling true freshmen out there that are expected to perform. You have guys with some years under their belt in this program that were expected to go out there and put out a good product against a Marshall team that they should have had a heyday with. And to your point as well, you have JT, who hasn't really shown up all year. You've got some other guys. Yeah, Ty Hamilton, I think, is a great player, didn't have a great day. And then, yes, you bring up the Hero Kanu. I think there's a huge question mark on Tyleik Williams is out. Why do you even start Hero Kanu? In my opinion, Caden McDonald gives you so much more juice than Hero Kanu does. And the entire first drive of that game, Hero Kanu was nowhere to be found. And Marshall's running the football, and there were, I think they converted 3 like 3rd and 4s or less, and basically all by running the football and having quarterback lead or quarterback draw. Right. And that's where your defensive interior, especially interior defense linemen, need to feast. And for Hero to not get any penetration on that drive and to essentially not show up, why why isn't Caden McDonald that guy? I don't know. But then also I think a lot of light needs to be shed on, hey, you've got some veteran defensive linemen out there. I already talked about JT, Ty Hamilton. Jack Sawyer, I thought, played the best out of the starting four, so to speak. And I also think Caden Curry brought the most juice. We talked about this yesterday. In my opinion, Jack and Caden were the only ones who showed up for that game yesterday. Now, did Jack pop off the film? No. I thought Caden got after the quarterback. I think there was some he flashed until he obviously got ejected for the targeting call, but which is a whole different situation that we could talk about. But there were a lot of guys who did not show up on the front four for Saturday's game against Marshall. And you would think coming off of a bye, like, hey, this is time to go, especially Marshall with an air raid offense. They like throwing the football. You played a Western Michigan team and an Akron team who tried getting the ball out quickly, who tried running the football, just didn't want to get killed. And this Marshall team was like, hey, listen, we'll throw the football. There was no pressure on Marshall's quarterbacks. They had three of them. There was no pressure on the Marshall quarterbacks all day long.
Yeah, and so we've mentioned some of Ryan Day's more CEO and big picture perspective coaching this team and how valuable that can be. I think yesterday, Zach, was the first time that I noticed like what appeared to be, and I'm not on the sideline, I'm just watching what's happening. It looked like Ryan Day was getting involved with subbing out packages on the defensive line. There was a third down situation where Marshall looked to spread the field. And it was 3rd, 4 or 5, and Ryan Day went over, and it looked like from the press box, again, I'm a long way away, couldn't be further. It looked like he was the one that said, hey, get the rushman on the field, and made a late sub package and adjustment there for Ohio State. So I watched, and there were several times where he was going over there to get involved with Larry Johnson and Ohio State's defensive line, which I think is a positive sign in Ryan Day's continued evolution, development, those things we've talked about with him. He wasn't just looking at the offensive call sheet like he used to be and getting ready for whenever he gets the ball back. He was involved on defense, and some of the results haven't come on special teams. We'll get to that down the road, but I think that's a good thing for Ryan Day, and B, it leads me to more questions about what we've talked about with not just the way Ohio State manages the rotation, but like if there's some sort of disconnect with the staff on the way that the defensive line or the fronts are being managed, because initially we had talked about that with Jim Knowles and Larry Johnson and the use of the jack, and we're not in the meetings. We don't know. We're speculating from the outside on some of this, right? But that's the first time that it came to like out in the public and everyone in the Horseshoe could see it, that there was something that Ryan Day wanted adjusted up front, and he got his way there, which A, is ultimately what matters because the buck stops with Ryan Day, but B, something that if we've spent several minutes here kicking off a Monday episode of the Podcast Daily talking about the defensive line. It's gotta be better. Like there's gotta be some sort of clear path forward.
What you just said is probably the most loaded comment of the season right there. And it's because we could dive down so many rabbit holes that there's so much truth to so many of the points you just made. I think the biggest issue is we've talked about it for the last, 5 years since we've done a show together is Larry Johnson's inability to rotate properly. Like that judgment of him on knowing who to put in certain situations, knowing to put in the right guys has continually failed this defense and this team. And that's something that we need to bring light to. And I love that Ryan Day's finally getting involved. You saw that yesterday. You talked about it. I don't need to talk about it anymore. That CEO role that Ryan Day's taken over. Great. Amazing. But for Ryan to even get into that position where he has to tell a position coach who to put in certain situations is an issue. And then you bring up we could talk about the coaching staff and behind closed doors and issues that they're having about, who to put in different fronts, things like that. I think the other glaring hole or glaring question that can be brought up is, let's be honest. CJ Hicks is not a linebacker. He is not. He is Baron Browning 2.0. He is Micah Parsons in flesh. Like that's who CJ Hicks is. If you expect him to sit 5 yards back from the ball in the box and read and react, he will not do it for you. You have to put him on the edge in some kind of rush, defensive end, outside linebacker, jack, whatever the hell you want to call it. I don't care. That's where he needs to be brought into the game. And when you have a defensive line that's not giving you a rush against a Marshall offensive line that, let's be honest, Austin's probably going to rank what? Maybe 8th, 9th, 10th best that you face on the year, if that. I mean, that might be giving them too much credit.
Too much credit, yeah.
Yeah, and you are not getting a rush. Why not bring CJ Hickson off the edge and say, hey, listen, bud, anytime it's 3rd and 4 or longer, you're going to the edge and get after that quarterback, which is what you do. And now we've seen Baron Browning making millions of dollars in the NFL by doing that, but he never once did it at Ohio State. And it goes back to Larry Johnson not wanting other guys to get involved with his defensive line rotation when it's probably what's best for this team. And if you want to tell me putting CJ Hicks as defensive end when you're going to Eugene, Oregon, when you're going to Happy Valley and you're going to be playing two teams that like to pass the football with especially with Drew Aller back there. I'm totally drawing a blank on Oregon's quarterback.
Dylan
Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel. And Dylan Gabriel can run the football as well and use his legs. Why not have CJ Hicks, probably one of your most athletic freaks on the entire defense, line up his defensive end and get after him?
Yeah. Maybe that can be one of the silver linings from what happened on Saturday. I think that you took Tyleik Williams out of the equation and then everything seemed to unravel. And again, maybe there's a world where this is hyperbole and overreaction and they had a bad day coming off of a bye. And that would be fine too. I hope that that's the case, but maybe it's a situation where you look at it and say, whoa, all right, that wasn't quite maximizing the silver bullets. That wasn't what the number one defense in the country would look like. Why is that? And maybe you do take that as sort of an extra improvement week and try and figure out what those solutions could be. You hope that that's the case because everybody knows what the stakes are for this Ohio State team, which is also why you saw in-game personnel change on special teams, Zach. I don't know that I've ever seen, I definitely haven't seen Ohio State bench their kicker, and I definitely have never seen anyone kick out of bounds 3 straight times.
I love Ohio State fans because they are true to who they are. They are intense. They live and die by the Buckeyes. I have seen them boo a lot of things, right? They are just those kind of fans. They will be your biggest supporters and will be the loudest people on your side, but then they will also tell you when you need to be better. I have never seen Ohio State fans boo the kicker, ever. And that is saying a lot because this is a fan base, like I said, will boo the hell out of people when they don't perform.
Yeah.
To boo the kicker in the Horseshoe against Marshall because he kicks the ball 3 times out of bounds. I don't know. Like it almost, I was there. It almost looked like he had the yips. You see it from a picture. You see it from, I saw it with Joe Bauserman once at quarterback when I was at Ohio State. Love Joe Bauserman, but man, he had the yips.
Yeah.
I've never seen it from a kicker ever in my entire life. And I don't know what happened. I don't know. It's not even like Urban Meyer was notorious for on kickoff of telling the kickers, hey, listen, you need to put the ball inside the 10-yard line. Don't kick it deep. Inside the 10-yard line between the numbers and the sideline. That's what he said all the time. Those were his expectations. You're a kicker. Practice it 1,000,000 times till you have it down pat, right? Yep. Ohio State doesn't even have that philosophy anymore. A lot of times they're just kicking it deep through the end zone, and a lot of times they're not even pushing it all the way in between the numbers and the sideline. Why the kicker basically shanked 3 kicks and went out of bounds at like the 10-yard line on all 3 of them, I have no idea.
Yeah, it was absolutely wild. And then they took it one step further. Like they had Austin Snyder go out there, a walk-on, go handle the extra points there in the second half. It's like, I don't know what was going on, but you want to talk about things that really get me worked up. You got you going on the defensive line, and we've talked about all that for years, but like I cannot for the life of me understand, because not only do they have that, like I'm really of the mindset that Brandon Ennis is going to break this touchdown drought, and he was looking up in the sun and muffs a punt, and he got bailed out by a penalty. It's like, okay, they moved on from Parker Fleming. They have all the full-time assistant coaches involved in special teams. Ryan Day is taking on an active role. And it's another one of these A and B situations. A, it's good. They saw a problem and they made an in-game adjustment with the personnel. Good. They didn't used to be quite as proactive in doing that. But B, how are we still having these conversations about special teams breakdowns? This is the most talented roster in the country. You can do anything you want. How is this happening?
You should never be this sloppy, ever, ever. And thank God we're playing Marshall, right? You're starting to get into the time of year where you start getting some big games. You do that. I hate to say it. I mean, Michigan State isn't. Well,
how many times have we seen Michigan State games come down to special teams?
Well, that's what I'm getting at, right? Like this Michigan State team isn't the same as going to Eugene or going to Happy Valley, but you're going to Michigan State next week where a couple special team sloppies, miscalculations, whatever you want to call it, can cost you the game. Right? You're finally going on the road. Like, you need to be sharp. You cannot be this sloppy, especially being now going into week 5 of the season. Like, come on, man. I might understand it, first week against Akron or against a no-name team. But come on, man. You're going on the road, a night game at Michigan State. I know they're not the greatest program in the country right now, but that could snipe you.
Yeah. Well, all right. We've got all that out. This offense is really good.
Oh my God. Offense is amazing. What they're able to do. And we've been talking about this all year, how they can take any play to the house. Doesn't matter what it is. They have the home run power to literally call any play, and you can have 6, 7, 8 guys on that offense take it to the house. We also talked about it early on in the season, is that it almost seemed like they wanted every play to go the house. And when it didn't, they were starting to get frustrated and a little uptight about it and were trying to force it. Whereas in Saturday, you finally saw like, hey, listen, we're going to do what we do. We're going to call plays. We're going to make plays with the ball in our hands, and we're going to go. Emeka started super early in the game. It was awesome to see him go. And by the way, man, he looked healthy. He looked fast. He looked damn good on Saturday. So for him to take that to the house, I was so happy for him. Obviously, Jeremiah Smith taking another one in the end zone. And man, the running backs are awesome. But you know me, I've been a huge fan of Quinshon Judkins and what he brings to this offense. And boy, did you see it on Saturday. And almost like he's gotten better and better every game. You saw against Western Michigan what the flashes that he could give you. Now you saw Saturday. It's like, boy, watch out.
Yeah, longest touchdown run of his career, 86 yards, third longest in Ohio State history. That was pretty dazzling. And I want to give Travion Henderson a shout out too, because he obviously broke a run. And I think there was that run where he pressed the hole and then bounced it back outside. I feel like it's like one of the things that I felt was holding him back earlier in his career was like, he doesn't seem to have great vision, or it was always so easy for him in high school. Like, well, you're just going to give it to him. He's going to outrun everybody in Virginia to the edge and he's gone. I think he's right now becoming the best version of Travion Henderson that we've seen, but like the complete running back that I think we all hoped that Travion Henderson can become, that including vision, the toughness we know has not been in question. Earlier in the year, we saw that great blitz pickup. I think that was in the opener against Akron. Like, I think Quinshon is awesome. Like, and he has the track record of doing that in the SEC. But Travion, I think, has also elevated his game, and that's worth a mention from me as well.
Could not agree with you more. We have talked about some of the things that we expected of Travion the past couple of years that we didn't see. I think we're finally seeing all of that come together. We knew the kind of player that he could be. The Ohio State coaches knew what kind of player he could be. He's finally putting it together. He's not shying away from contact. He's not shying away from making people miss. He had the issue of bouncing everything and trying to take everything for a home run, and you're not seeing that this year. He's actually using his vision, taking the cutback lanes. But yes, he deserves all of the praise for what he's done this year. But can we maybe say that bringing Quinshon Judkins in and letting them work together and see how Quinshon operates has helped him out? Can we also say that Tony Alford leaving was maybe the best thing for Travion Henderson's career? And I think you're starting to see that as well. So Tony Alford leaving, Quinshon Judkins coming in, you're seeing a completely new Travion Henderson, and that's what I love.
It's been fun to watch these running backs, and they're getting ready for Big Ten play and the stakes to go up starting on Saturday. But before we can get to that as well, we got to get to Zach Boren's 3 and out, the 3 stars from Saturday's win over Marshall.
Number 3's got to be Jeremiah Smith again, right? What he's able to do with
gonna have to retire him from this.
I know, right? I know. And he wasn't I would say this, he wasn't targeted as much as he has been the first couple of games, right? First 2 games, you could really see Ohio State try to get the ball in his hands, call plays specifically for him. And I think that's because, hey, listen, he's a freshman, trying to get him accustomed to the speed of the game, trying to build him some confidence. Finally, he has that confidence, but he's still able to pop. And the big play ability is, I don't know if I've ever seen it from a wide receiver of his stature. Number 2 is the 2-headed monster of Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson. I mean, those 2 together are people have said it. I've seen finally starting to see college football reporters, media people, national media people from across the country say it's the best running back room in the country. And I could not agree more. Those 2 guys, what they're able to bring, both of them had great stiff arms on Saturday. Both of them. Oh, my God. Unbelievable. Both of them ran tough. Both of them broke some long runs. Unbelievable. Number 1's got to be Emeka Egbuka. I know, that I think it was the second play of the game, third play of the game, whatever it was. Him taking that to the house in the speed and acceleration. We were making a big deal about Jeremiah Smith against Western Michigan.
Yeah.
Emeka's the same way, man. That dude got it and took off. And it goes back to what we were talking about 2 weeks ago after the Western Michigan game, is Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith coming on the way they are. Now they're able to put Emeka in situations where he can flourish in that slot receiver. He doesn't need to be the big X receiver on the outside and be that go-to guy. Now he can be that kind of quick scat guy that he's always been, and you saw that on Saturday. So from my standpoint, man, Emeka Egbuka, I feel like that was his, I don't want to call it a coming out party because it's not like it was all day long, but that big play, I firmly believe, has built his confidence to now say, hey, listen, I'm a dude. I'm the veteran in this room. Guess what? I can make the plays that Carnell and Jeremiah do. Let's go. Yeah.
I talked to Emeka Egbuka for a couple minutes on the notebook after the game. You can see that on the podcast if you want. And I was like, Berm said that was the fastest he's ever seen you run. And I was like, that looked pretty good too. But I also had thought from the press box, like, it doesn't look like Emeka's even trying. And Emeka kind of agreed more with me. He's like, yeah, I can go faster than that. And I was like, oh, well, that would be pretty interesting. I'd love to see that.
Hey, listen, he may not have been trying. It looked smooth as hell. It looked like he was pulling away from the entire defense on Saturday. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, it looked pretty good. And you can tell Emeka Egbuka and that Ohio State offense ready to rock heading into East Lansing on Saturday night. Looking forward to that full week of coverage coming your way. I bet we'll get into some more positive stuff as the week goes on, but there will be some Buckeye Q, and maybe that could be rough. I don't know. It's not too early in the year for one of those, is it, Zach?
No, it's not. It might be needed.
Okay.
What the great Woody Hayes said. He said, pat them on the ass when they're down and kick them in the ass when they're up, right? So you come off a 49-14 win, time to kick them in the ass.
All right. So we'll have that coming later on this week. Great insight, as always, from Zach Boren. Great to start off another week, a Big Ten week on the Podcast Daily with a Zach Boren Blitz. He is Zach. I am Austin Ward. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you later.